first thing we have listed is our Pledge of Allegiance. So if I may, at this time, ask everyone to stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. One thing we as a township need to do is hold an annual meeting. And by statute, we need to hold that next month, and it will be on April 12th. But before we actually hold the meeting, we need to approve the agenda for that meeting. So if you look at your place here, you will see before you a Maine Township Annual Town Meeting Agenda, April 12th, 2022, 7 p.m. And it lists on it the typical items that are addressed during the town meeting, including minutes of approval of the former meeting, supervisor report, awards presentations. I understand in the past employees have been sometimes given an award after a certain number of years of service. Right. I actually will be new to attending a town meeting, as I know a number of my fellow trustees here may also be new to it. So I'm looking forward to that. What we need to do now is just approve the agenda for our meeting, which will be next month. Of course, this won't be our next meeting. Our next meeting will actually be at the end of March, the regular meeting, and then we will have a town meeting on April 12th. So may I have a motion to approve the agenda for the April 12th, 2022 annual town meeting?
Motion to approve the agenda for the April 12th, 2022 annual town meeting. Second.
All right, any discussion about that agenda? Any additions, corrections? All right, may I have a roll call?
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
The question has come up about who we asked to moderate. I think we have asked various individuals in the past. I think Pete Giuliano's had
Yes,
an idea or two as to who to ask to
Yes, he's already
do it.
thinking of a couple people. I don't want to say it.
Yeah, right.
I think he typically selects who's going to do that.
He's with the one, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps he can let us know at the March meeting. I think he'll be back by then, won't he?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This
Okay.
week he's.
All right, thank you. So the next item on our agenda, I'm sorry, actually I skipped over public participation. I don't know if we have any requests for public participation in this section of the meeting either. It appears not. And so we will continue on with discussion of the status of the Office of Emergency Management. And we do have a guest here tonight. Our guest, Ed, would you like to introduce our guest for this evening?
Sure. So we have District Chief Mike Brown from the North Maine Fire Department. Mike has been the emergency management liaison with the fire department for many years. So thanks for showing up. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Right.
Appreciate that.
So Chief Brown's no stranger to our township. Thanks for coming here again.
Thank you. I'll keep this brief, but I will answer any questions anybody would have as far as our relationship between the fire department and NEMA. First, I'll give you a little background about myself. My name is Mike Brock. I'm a district chief in the 1st Battalion with the North Maine Fire Department. I've been employed there since October 19, 1977 to present. I reside in the city of Des Plaines, and several years ago, I was assigned the task of becoming a liaison between our fire department, Maine Township, EMA, which I had no problem with accepting that assignment. And I had began working with a gentleman, Robert Cohen, who unfortunately now is deceased, but we developed a very good rapport between that organization and our fire department. What I mean by that is every time we had an incident with down wires, we needed a lighting unit, we needed any kind of specialized equipment, they always had it. They brought it to the scene, we were able to mitigate the scene, and in some cases with down trees and lines, we were able to turn it over to them, which freed up law enforcement from blocking off streets, and it also freed us up so we could take on other assignments, which by that time, we're backlogged with all kinds of stuff. Flooding was another issue that we had to mitigate as well. So unfortunately, Bob Cohen had passed away, and after that had happened, everything kind of came to a standstill, so we really didn't have too much going on with regards to that. Nobody seemed to know what was going on. Things then began to pick up within the last 2 to 3 years approximately with a gentleman named John Bennett, who stopped by our firehouse and introduced himself and said that he wanted to pick up where Bob Cohen had left off. And we developed this rapport that seemed to be going in the right direction. And then, of course, with the COVID-19 outbreak and that kind of thing. But in the meantime, anything that we had discussed with them, with the members of EMA, we were able to get, things done. They had a search and rescue drill that members of my department, I think you were there also, we had participated in to see their operation and what they do. So I guess the question probably is there a need for Maine Township EMA in this community? Absolutely, for a lot of reasons. I think it's also a possibility to even expand that to the high school kids, bring them in. Also for the junior college level kids, whether it's in law enforcement, fire science, EMS. To give you a little bit more, when Bob Cohen was running this thing, he had a whole handful of ham radio operators. I don't know where he found these people, but these people had state-of-the-art equipment. And in the event that we lost communications, these people were ready to go to work. These people were all doing it for free. So we had no idea that this was a part of what they had. EMS, same, we had doctors and nurses that were also assigned that he had got from St. Francis Hospital in Evanston. So the resources are out there. There's people that are willing to work and do this for free. I think it'd be a great opportunity to expand that type of program. Again, I don't know all the legalities. That falls on you people. If there's any questions that you have of me, feel free to fire away. And thank you for inviting me to your meeting.
Thank you very much, Chief. I think most of the board would like to revitalize OEM, and I think we have an idea of how to do that. Perhaps we'll discuss that more in our next meeting. But at this point, I'd like to give any of the board members an opportunity to ask any questions that they might like to ask, and then they'll turn it over to our elected officials too. Anyone from the board? Jim, you look like you want to ask a question.
No, I just had a couple quick questions.
Go ahead.
Maybe Mike can educate me.
Please.
We've been asked Mike to potentially look for a new director. And these certifications, which I'm completely unfamiliar with, maybe you're familiar with this kind of thing, a CERT certification, a rehab certificate, and an MRC. Do you know what that kind of background is and what kind of...
The only thing with CERT, that's the first aid group, and we had them at our firehouse back a while back, and I believe it was Dagmar Rutzen who was running that, and it was our first aid program for people. They were doing bandaging backboards, securing patients. It was all the basic first aid stuff, but it was important in tornadic activity or a collapse of some sort, something where we need to get volunteers in and stabilize patients. To a point, it would just be the bare ABCs and this stuff, and that's what it was. But the training was all in our firehouse, down in our basement for quite a while.
Okay.
The rest of the certifications, can't give you an answer.
Okay. And Mike, if you were doing the hiring, what kind of a person would you be looking for, a background for this position? We're having trouble maybe thinking, so I want to get your personal opinion on the type of person you'd be looking for this type of a job. It would be a part-time thing. What kind of background would you think a person for this would be? If you
I really don't. I would just assume somebody who can work with the public and a people person.
Okay.
That's what I would look for.
All right, thank you.
Go from there.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. Well, thank you.
Other questions from board members? Or elected officials?
I just had a quick question for you. So what kind of qualities did Mr. Cohen and John Bennett have that you would feel that would be important? I know that kind of touched on the same question, but what qualities besides just being a people person or is important in that job?
A line of communication. That's very important, especially when you have a situation. You need the right people in the right places to make the right decisions, and you got to do it now. You can't do it, whenever you feel like it. So Bob Cohen would call me up constantly. John Bennett the same way. Hey, we got tornadic weather moving in this area. You know, do you have a game plan? Can we meet at your firehouse? Can we stage people at your firehouse and get ready for the next, if it happens? Yeah, absolutely. So just people that would just reach out and help us out, come up with new ideas. Hey, can we come over and do this? Can we do this? You know, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it was a first name basis. And you pick up the phone, hey, John, what's going on? Hey, Bob, what are you doing? You know, hey, I'm in here. Can I stop by for a cup of coffee? Yeah, you get a lot done. You get a lot done. And the people who they recruited were off the charts, and they're doing this all for nothing. So my suggestion was to reach out to the high schoolers and bring them into something, make them feel like they're doing something for their community. I think we need that more now than ever in society.
Yeah.
Same with the junior college kids.
And they were working with you with dispatch, through dispatch too, right? Correct?
We had, with John Bennett, we were able to put them on our box alarm cards. And for people who don't know what the box alarm cards, like a Mavis division, if we get a fire and we escalate it to extra alarms, we would punch a card on that with our dispatch center, and email was on that card. So if we had a fire, they would bring their light truck, report to command, be given an assignment, and go to work and do their job. They'd be out of harm's way, obviously, but we'd say like block off traffic over here, block off traffic here, give us a lighting unit here for this building, whatever.
Frees you up to deal with emergency situations.
Right.
So without this department, I mean, right now it's sort of in a holding state, but without this department, how does that impact you guys?
Well, spring's right around the corner, you know, and so if we get a lot of tornadic activity, hope we don't, but if we do, or anything, you know, that requires people to come in and mitigate it, it's kind of nice to turn it over to somebody who knows what they're doing, and then we can get cut loose to take care of somebody else. I don't want to see us get into a situation where we're busy watching a down power line when 2 blocks away some little kid stopped breathing and he needs us, but we gotta watch this down wire so nobody gets hurt. We can't walk away from it, but in the meantime we can't do anything about this. They play a role, they really do, folks.
Mike, was OEM helpful in the fire over at Bay Colony? I think that they...
Yeah, they were helpful at Bay Colony. They also were helpful at the Landings fire, where we went up to a 511 alarm fire. They did traffic control. They were able to stage all the fire apparatus. They did an exceptional job. I mean, they really did. So there is a role for them, and it frees up law enforcement. So that's the thing. And I know also too, going outside that, the city of Park Ridge recruited a lot of them too for their traffic stuff that they did, and also for their, I think it was Park Ridge City Days or whatever they had. Yeah, they had that. So they were a very respected group. Everybody relied on them. They had a good reputation. I'm sorry to see it go. Any other questions?
I have the answer for Jen who wants to know what CERTS and MRC stand for.
Oh, great, thank you, thank you.
So CERTS stands for Community Emergency Response Team, and educates volunteers about disaster preparedness for the hazards that may impact their area, and trains them in basic disaster response skills such as fire safety, light search and rescue, team organization, and disaster and medical operations. And I think MRC is pretty close to that. MRC stands for Medical Reserve Corps, and utilizes local volunteers who want to donate their time and expertise to prepare for and respond to emergencies and to support ongoing preparedness initiatives. So,
Okay.
close.
Mike was saying first.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Gee, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking your evening.
Thank you. Nice meeting all of you.
Thank you.
Nice to
Yeah,
meet
thanks,
you.
Mike.
All right, take care. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Have a
great.
good meeting, guys. Thanks.
Okay, next thing on our agenda is a discussion of rebranding, the township logo, our general team, et cetera. And one of our board members, Kelly, has been working on this quite a bit. So I'm going to ask you if you'd like to start off by addressing the board about this.
Sure. You know, we've been talking about, you know, now that we've got more of a web presence and a social media presence, you know, kind of rebranding a little bit to kind of take our old logo and kind of update it a little bit. So we talked at the last meeting. I had sort of shared a few ideas and we talked about it. And so I sort of narrowed it down. I talked more with Robert and Marty, and we kind of discussed how to present something to you. So basically, what I have is, I know there were a lot of suggestions last time, and I want you to know that I did try them all. I tried a lot of doing things with incorporating the building specifically, but when it's shrunk down so much, you can't tell what it is, whether it's an outline or a silhouette, and I tried several different ways to do that to make it work. And I think that we would end up in the same sort of situation where, right now we have a plow and nobody knows what it is. So I just, after talking to Robert, we just felt that, it really has to be sort of simple and more of a design element that's easy to just look at. So these were just my suggestions. So what I wanted to do is show you, so you can see them printed out in front of you, and you can also see them up there as well. So there's option 1, option 2, and then option 3. So the way that logos typically work is you want to have versatility, and you want to have something that can be flexible. So you have what's called a horizontal logo, which you can see at the top is just sort of like wide and skinny. And then you also have something that's more of like a square shape or a circular shape, which is called a stacked logo or a vertical logo. So you want to be able to have something that can have both of those. So they're essentially working together. So depending on what your needs are, you can use the stacked version or you can use the horizontal version. So I have a horizontal version, a stacked version. I also have it as a positive and a negative. So you can see one has the black background. And I didn't add any color into this because I didn't want us to focus on that. I just wanted to focus on just the actual design. So there are times where you need it to be reversed out and other times where you need it to just, be sort of white. So that's why it looks like that. Then I shrunk it down, the same thing shrunk down. So they're big at 2 inches and they're shrunk down to 1 inch. And if you look at like our agenda, for example, you can see the logo is 1 inch, so that it's the same size. So you can see what it would look like shrunk down. And I don't know, on our business cards, I'd have to look, it might even be shrunk down a little bit more. But as you shrink it down, especially when you have a lot of lines and details, it gets very sort of cluttered and confusing. And that's the problem that we had with when I was playing with the building. It looked great when it was 3 inches big, but when you shrink it down tiny, you couldn't tell what it was. So then the second option is very similar to the first. The font is slightly different, and then the lines are just different. And it's just sort of a design element. It's sort of moving us into the future. You can interpret it any way you like. And then the third option would be just to keep what we have, which is an option as well. So these were just my 3 suggestions, and so we can talk about it.
Okay, before we do that, Robert, I'm going to ask if you'd like to step up to the mic, because you may have something to add to that, or perhaps people will have questions for you, because I believe you worked with Kelly on this. Is there anything you would like to add to what Kelly has just told us?
Thank you. Yes. And Trustee Horvath kind of succinctly covered everything. The only thing I'll mention in addition to what she said is, well, you have 1-inch versions of the logo on social media, and the vast majority of Facebook traffic, for instance, is on cell phones. That logo is only going to be about 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch, which is really kind of the crux of the problem with the current logo. At 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch, it's very hard to make out.
Okay, all right. Any questions that board members may have for Kelly or for Robert?
Yes, please. Sorry, so this is going to be used for just social media? Is that the plan?
Well, I think the idea was to eventually sort of, redo the business cards and redo the letterhead. And I mean, I don't think we're going to take this off the wall. I don't think we're going to redo the signage out front or anything like that. But
I think in the interest of consistency, we're gradually we'll choose one of these options. And
you're going to change that?
No, we just said we're not going to
Okay.
change that. But gradually, as new stationery is made, new business cards are made, we will move to a uniform look so that when people see that, they know that's Maine Township. They know it's this Maine Township. as opposed to many other Maine townships that are out there.
Really?
So, yeah, there are a lot of.
I know, but there's no Illinois in this, so I would.
You know,
We
it
can
actually doesn't.
But it's gonna be really tiny when it's little. I mean, you're not gonna be able to read that it says Illinois, but
And how much does it cost us for this transition? Are we looking?
You know, it won't really cost anything in terms of changing it on the webpage, other than, you know.
Right, because it's going to initiate, yeah, that wouldn't be anything, but I mean like letterheads and cards and,
And, you know, again, what I don't see us redoing, throwing out anything we have,
okay.
but gradually, as it's time to order new, we will switch over to the new logo. Yeah.
Last time we talked about keeping the old one as a seal, and like keeping both. I think I would still be interested in that. And I'm looking at these and they're nice. I like the lines on the second one, but I like the font of the first one.
and those could be switched.
Can we combine that, add this bold font with the wavy lines and see how that looks? Just to see. I like this font.
Well, I like it actually better because it's more condensed,
Yeah.
so it saves space.
I like these lines.
Any other comments, Jeff? You look like you want to say
It
something.
looks like on the current flag, we have 4 wavy lines, and now we're going to 3. That's probably just to save space, I guess, is why and we still don't know what the 3 wavy lines mean. But I guess we're not worried about that, because we're getting rid of the tree and potentially getting rid of the tree and the
Yeah,
plant.
lines.
I'd like to think they're lines moving us into the future, excuse me.
It's a good one.
Or you could think it's the river, you could think whatever you think you want.
We're floating down the river towards the future.
Or just to give it more emphasis that we're Maine Township as opposed to some other township. But I agree with Kim, I like the font a little better on the top, option 1, a little bit better than option 2. It gives you a more condensed, I guess. But other than that, I don't really have strong feelings on it, except that I don't think anybody's going to forget where we are just because the flag doesn't match the logo. Right? Don't know where it is.
And I hope that the people in Maine Township know that they're in Illinois, so. I hope.
But anyway, it is what it is. It's a change, so.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I always thought the tree signified growth. But you know, I'm old school, and I don't care, you guys.
I understand. I like the old logo, but I think one of the main problems is that when you shrink it down on a cell phone page, it looks like sort of a blurry down.
Well, I understand social media, you're going to have to do something.
So, you know, I know.
And the option is to keep the old logo, I mean, if that's
Yeah.
what the majority want, that.
Well, I don't see why you can't do it permanent. I know you want consistency, but.
Okay. Asif brings up to the background of the building, like in the background.
Yeah, the last time, remember I talked about this, I said in the background should be the building.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I tried multiple things with the building, and when you shrink it down, you can't tell what it is. But I
Maybe
want to
now-
make sure that we have the building in places, so it will be, like, when I did those outlines, it will be in the header, it will be, we could even incorporate it elsewhere, like if we do a business card, for example, it could still be on there, it just isn't going to be within the circle. But that does not mean that we cannot incorporate the building into places.
Like on the header, instead of the round, could you do a line drawing of the building?
If it's going to be that size, probably not. I mean, I can show it to you guys so you can see, but when I tried several different building versions. I did an outline version, and then I did more of like a silhouette. And we know what it is because we come here.
Right.
But if you've not been to this building and you don't know the significance of this building, you would not know what it was. It looked like a pointy blob.
Yeah.
So, that's the only problem. So, I definitely don't want to eliminate the building. I want to make sure that that is a part of everything else. This is mostly just the container for the name, and, but the building, if we are doing, whether it's a business card, you can still have that outline of the building in the background, or, if you're doing the header, on the website or on the newsletter, I want to make sure that is on there. I do like it, so I don't want to eliminate that.
So we were suggesting on documents where we have the room, we would continue with a banner that has the building on it? Is that
Yeah,
what
or,
you're
you
saying?
know, and yes, and I can, as we proceed, I can come up with some options and show you so you can see what it would look like. But yeah, I don't want to get rid of that. I think it's, you know, I like the way it looks, so I want to incorporate it as much as possible.
Okay, we're appropriate with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, where it will look good at an appropriate size, where it's not too small
Okay.
to be confusing.
Asif, did you have a question, or?
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So far, I'm hearing that the people like option 2, but with the font from option 1, is that
Yes,
what
we're not
I'm
absolutely
hearing?
do that.
Kim, is that what you said? And-
Yeah, I
And
just, it's a nice design. It's very nice. It just, nothing about it identifies with Maine Township. That makes it, you know what I mean? But I guess that's the setback.
Sure, so what do you think would be something that would signify?
I mean, I know we already went over the building and that won't work, but, I mean, I have gone places with Maine Township stuff on, and they'll say, oh, you're from Maine? And I'll have to explain, no, I'm not from Maine, but, and, I mean, it's an insignificant
Sure.
point, but, so, it's a very nice design. It just doesn't seem to, you know, set us apart from any other township. You know, that could say, oh, wow, that's Maine Township, or like, I mean, not that, you know, I'm married to the old one, but that one did. So, it doesn't.
But I think there's also, you know, the history behind this. You guys have been here for a very long time, and you know,
I agree.
have a relationship with this, so I think it's more meaningful to you. You know, and I know it's hard to just say, oh, well, let's get rid of that, you know, and I don't want to diminish your, you know, sort of fondness for it. You know, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, for me, I think what, I can tell you what sums up in a township in terms of a single symbol. I don't know what it would be, so the default is to just make a very attractive design, which is what logos usually are.
Maybe some of our employees have ideas on that, what sets us apart. Would anyone say, have an opinion on that? Dana or people that work here every day? What's our biggest attraction in Maine Township? Other than the workers, of course.
I agree with Kelly where she does say that I think some of us who have been here forever are married to this logo because, you know, like Kim and I talked about it a lot of time. I think we're used to seeing this logo with the cloud and the tree, and I know myself, I'm not big on change, but I think sometimes it is time maybe for a little modernization and maybe time for something a little bit different. I think that I do like what Kelly came up with, but I also don't want to get rid of what we have. So if we can do a combination, you know, of still using our logo, but in certain places like maybe social media, using what, you know, Trustee Horvath has come up with, I think that would be a great idea. This change is good, but also still, you know, leaving, you know, a lot of people, you know, who've been in the community, you know, have, you know, they're used to seeing our logo on our website, on our newsletter, and in various, you know, places, you know, our vehicles. We have our logo a lot of places, and it's been on a lot of things for many, many, many years, and I don't know that we should get rid of it, but maybe just an addition, I think, is a good thing.
So do we run the risk of that being confusing then, though, for people?
If I could chime in right now with one thing I mentioned at the last meeting, but I'll expand on here, is the city of Des Plaines went through this exact exercise about 7 years ago, roughly. And, you know, just like here, there was some nostalgic preference for the old seal, but there was also recognition that they needed to adapt something for social media and a little more forward-looking. So the decision they made was to maintain the seal as the official seal and to keep it on the flag, which flies outside of City Hall. essentially everything else there, from the logo above the City Hall chamber to the social media website, and I believe all city vehicles were changed over to the newer logo. I can't provide specifics on when they decided to make that change, if they decided to make the change just when they were due for updates to kind of speak to the cost point that was brought up, but that's what's happened in Des Plaines.
And they did, I don't remember the exact total, but it was around $30,000, I want to say, that they spent just for the design portion of that. That doesn't even count all the implementation and everything, but just, it is an expensive thing if you were to later on decide that you want to do it and, hire out something.
Do they have a slogan in this place, you remember?
Yeah, it was a good move. Good move.
Good move. Good
Yeah.
move.
Yeah, so originally it was City of Destiny.
Yeah, that's the original one.
Yes, and then, but it was more of a marketing campaign that it was based around. So it wasn't like the slogan of Des Plaines is good move necessarily. It was a whole marketing thing where it was tied into this whole, because our family was actually photographed for part of the campaign, so we were in part of the campaign. But it was, close to the city and easy transportation. It's a good move. We've got all these businesses and industries. It's a good move. So it was all about, but a lot of people were very, it's the City of Destiny. You can't take that away from me. So there was a whole, small group of people that were very upset by that change. But I think the new logo looks great. I think that all the new branding, I think all the newsletter, everything that I get in the mail looks very fresh, and I personally like it from a design standpoint, but that's, that's me, so.
So I'm going to ask the board, can we at least agree on option 2 with option 1 font for our social media anyway, where it's really not going to look very good, shrunk down. The regular seal it's just not, it's going to be very difficult to read. It's going to be too busy for something that's small. Can we at least agree on that for now? And then, as time goes by, maybe we'll adopt the new logo in other places too. Is that something that we can agree to now? Right. Seeing yes?
Theoretically.
For
color is-
social media?
What color is going to be this one?
They would be the colors that we looked at last time, like blues and greens,
Blues,
that
yeah.
would match with the website unless that becomes something else. Just so we don't coordinate.
All right. Anyone have any objection to that? Hearing none. I think we're going to move forward with that. I don't think we actually need to vote on this, but I just sort of wanted everyone to be able to get some input into it. And I understand some reluctance to make changes, and so we're making an incremental change for now. We may or may not make other changes later, but we'll see how we like this, and we'll take it. We may pick this up again, but I think that's where we are for now. Okay. I want to thank
Thank you,
Kelly so much for all the work that you did on this. I think you have a talent for this, and I'm sure it took a fair amount of time to do this. I have no doubt.
And I don't want to seem like the big design order who's coming in and trying to
No, you don't seem that way.
No.
like,
No, we appreciate your work.
We do. And this is something that, again, sort of a unique talent among the members of the board. So we thank you for your efforts, along with Robert working on this. So, Robert, we're talking now about the web social media, and I was just wondering if you have any other thoughts or update on social media for us.
Yeah, so I'm excited that we're launching a few things this month that we were waiting a little bit on until we got the all clear on the logo update and to make sure everything has a consistent look. So a couple things that we're launching. One is the e-newsletter that we promised you. So our initial edition will also feature the very shiny piece of content that I'm excited to show you later, which is our video that you all participated in over the past couple of months. In addition to that, we're going to start with some of the content that was in the last mainly news edition that came out, and that will begin a monthly cadence starting this month. The other piece that we want to talk more about is the advertising and our social media advertising and possibly YouTube advertising. And our initial call to action is going to be real simple on Facebook. It's just going to get more likes on that page and encourage people to sign up for the e-newsletter. The benefit to advertising and asking people to do those things is you spend money once and hopefully they follow the page and sign up for the e-newsletter, and then it's free every additional time you hit them after that once you have them following the page or sign up for the e-newsletter. So that'll be the initial call to action. We're going to look and see if we can do a similar campaign on YouTube, and we'll study the initial results, share that with you. And just for the edification of the board, the targeting that we're able to do on social media is based on zip code. So we'll be able to really limit it to the township. There's a little bit of overlap with other townships, but it won't be much. And that'll ensure that we're getting the kind of most impressions for our ad dollars that we spend. Happy to answer any questions.
Can you talk about the cost of it for each type of advertising that you're proposing?
Yeah, so I'm personally most familiar with YouTube advertising, and I can tell you right now that about $1,000 investment in YouTube would gain roughly 90,000 impressions on YouTube. Facebook, it varies based on the type of ad you're running. So if you're looking to just get likes, there's a certain ratio they kind of estimate. But I won't elaborate on that right now. I think the best action for the township to take would be to set aside a relatively small amount, like $1,000, and see what kind of a result that produces. Maine Township, it's a township of 140,000 people. So once we do an initial investment and we see the result, we can kind of scale up appropriately to make sure that we're reaching enough people through those means. Just another advertising best practice is if you have a certain budget for advertising, you want to try to spread it around as best you can, so to speak. So if you have a $100,000 ad budget, that would include things like the quarterly newsletter. You want to make sure that digital is getting some money and other forms of advertising are also being invested in to reach as many different types of people as you can and hit them with different messages.
So can you tell us how you can target our community members?
So primarily we would target by zip code, but you can also target by age. That's especially effective on Facebook because the age data is known. On YouTube, not everybody watching YouTube videos is signed into an account, so you don't always have access to that data on YouTube, but you do still have the zip code data. So we would probably recommend an initial targeting by zip code and also age, whether that's people over 40 or 50, initially, because those tend to be the people most interested in local government. We don't want to just leave it open to anybody over the age of 18 because that might target people in that 18 to 30-year-old demographic that tend to not pay that close attention to government. Of course, that's completely open for the board's decision. We can implement whatever you want. That's just my recommendation.
Okay, all right. So I think your recommendation is to invest in $1,000 worth of advertising in YouTube and the same for Facebook. Is that what I'm hearing?
That would be my recommendation.
So I'd like to open it up to the board members for their questions and comments that they might have regarding this proposal. Now, this is not something we're actually voting on tonight. I just want to let you know that this is something that we could actually, it's within the authority of the supervisor to purchase, but I'm soliciting your opinions. I don't know what you think. So now's your chance.
I mean, I think it's good.
I'm sorry, we have a hand raised over here.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No.
Well, Kelly, why don't you go ahead, and then we'll get to over to Susan, okay?
No, I think it's a good idea. I mean, I've personally done advertising on Facebook and Instagram and before for businesses, and I've noticed it really has made a difference. So I think it would be great.
Okay. Susan?
I'm wondering, with the assessor's office, our information is very timely and important, and our connection with Rich Lyons, I mean, he's just on top of it like that. But is it a crossover between Rich and you, or we have to get information to you? Or does that just stay with our website with Rich? What happens in those situations?
So, if I understand correctly, you're talking about posts that currently just go to the Maine Township website about things like property tax appeal, open
Okay,
periods.
yeah, we're open.
Yeah.
Information that's.
And you want to make sure that information is timely put on the Facebook as well. I'll say that I scan the webpage to get ideas for Facebook posts, but the best practice would be, and we can determine a best practice now, would probably be just to send it to Rich and me and just copy me on the email, and then I would also know to post it on Facebook. If you prefer to just have to email it to Rich and he can send it to me, or you just email it to me and I send it to him, Rich and I have already worked together on several things. We're happy to do it, whatever's easiest for you. And as far as advertising goes, a recommendation for down the road will definitely be to advertise specifically around property tax appeal season, because we think that's the best opportunity to reach the general public. That's probably the service that is most resonant to the residents in the township.
Sometimes we don't get that information till the day of.
Well, the advantage of Facebook advertising and YouTube advertising versus something like the quarterly newsletter is, if you get it the day of, if you get it at 10 a.m., we can have an ad up by noon. And we can put $1,000 behind it, and you can probably reach 90,000 people in 2 days, which there's no other method that you can do that.
Okay, now, Rich has something on, which I wasn't aware of until recently, bad on me, but that he is actually doing hits, and people are leaving emails, and we can blast them with information from my office if need be. Is that something I'm just going to stay with Rich on? Because
Well,
he's got a collection of that for me already.
yes, I will be asking Rich for his time after this meeting, because we're going to be talking about our email service and the e-newsletter that we're launching. We'll be sending monthly with the ability to do special editions around significant events like property tax appeals. So yes, you have the ability to blast a message out quickly, but you're also going to get the benefit of these monthly newsletters should you have information. And we're going to solicit information from every department before we send it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, thoughts? Yes, Kim?
I just want to, I was listening, but I just want to make sure I understood. So it would be $1,000 for each platform, right? 1,000, and how frequently?
Well, so the $1,000 for each platform, you can consider kind of a pilot program.
Okay.
We're just going to run that to get information on how many people it reached, how many people actually took the step to like the page, sign up for the e-newsletter, how many people saw a video on YouTube, and just provide that information for context primarily. From that point, we probably, if the board was happy with the results or found that there was potential there, we would then probably map out how we would pursue advertising throughout the year and wrap that advertising around significant events. So definitely the property tax appeal seminar, but also even events that are very popular like the Shred Day. I mean, that would be a great thing to do a Facebook ad about, because that would definitely get a lot more people in here. So initial pilot program, see the results, give you some information, and then maybe we can come up with a more formal plan for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, all right. Thanks for your input regarding that matter. And then we'll move to the next one. And Robert, I'm going to ask you to stay right there, because we're going to deal with a website discussion. And you may have some input on this. And I'd just like to preface the remark by everyone knows we have a website now, and have had a website for some time now. And recently, I've asked Rich to make a number of changes to it, and he's done that, and I think it's improved. It's a little easier to move around. But as Rich himself has told me, this current website that we have was designed on a WordPress template, and that there's only so many changes you can make, considering that's how it was created, that there are certain limitations. So what I wanted to ask the board is if you wanted to consider, sort of revamping the website from scratch and not necessarily using that template. Rich will continue on as our webmaster, making changes as needed, but as far as designing a new web page, that's something that I think we want to consider. So I wanted to get your input as to whether or not you want to do that and how we might go about getting quotes for that type of work. And I think, once again, Kelly, I think you've worked on this issue a little bit, I think along with Dana, and perhaps you can address the website issue.
Yes, I do think, and just having looked at it, I think that it could use some revamping, even just looking at it on a cell phone. It's not as responsive as it could be, so the formatting is off and it's hard to see. It's a little cluttered, there's just a lot of information, it just needs to be reorganized. And so Dana and I have talked. I did sort of reach out to some web developers that I know and to sort of gauge if people would be interested in submitting some sort of a proposal. But I think that what we would need to do is sort of decide what we're looking for. Are we looking for someone to take the current theme and sort of tweak it a little bit, or to kind of start fresh? And you can take what we have as like a guide, but what do we need? What sort of functionality do we need? Is it just pages of information? I know there was some talk about having a calendar where you can sort of filter mainstreamer events and mainstay events and different types of events that are coming up. But is there anything beyond that that would be really involved with coding or anything like that? Or is it really, for the most part, just kind of straight up information? And I think once we have that list, it would be easy to I can send it to people that I know that are developers, and if anybody else knows, we can put a call out and, people can submit based on what we're looking for.
Okay, and I think this is something we might want to ask our staff what they need too. I've often wondered, would our website work better if people could charge, expenses to it easier than they're doing now, if there's something we can do. And I know that's all very complicated, but, it seems like that would be easier for our residents.
And there are a lot of sort of plugins and services that you can use that really are not that complicated, where you can create forms that take payments, or just even accept information, and that could be easily added. And it could also be continually added, down the road as well.
So I think you and Dana have received some preliminary quotes from different sources. Sounds like maybe a wide range. Can you sort of tell me the range of quotes that you've seen for web page redesign?
Right. So the one person I talked to today, who is somebody who I've actually worked with them before, and they have done a lot with nonprofits and government entities. And for what I was explaining to him, he thought it would be around $5,000,
Okay.
which is on the lower end. If you want to send it out to somebody, it could go up to $20,000, depending on if you were really doing something heavily involved. But when I've used developers in the past, I have been able to keep it around $5,000. So.
Okay. Dave, can you tell us, based on the quotes that you had received, what range you were seeing?
I actually personally didn't receive quotes, but I do know that there are quotes that probably go up to 30,000, 40,000. So I actually think what Trustee Horvath received was very reasonable, and I think that's right on the money of probably what we should be looking at. But I do know that it could go very high. I don't know that we want to 20, 30,000, so I think 5,000 is something in our range right now. I am in agreement. I think the website really needs to be revamped. It's not mobile friendly, it's not modernized. We're talking about rebranding, this is a time to redo it, so I think this is a good investment for the township.
All right, so I think what we'll do is we'll collect wish lists about what it is we want their website to do, and maybe just very general, or we may have some specific requests. So I'm going to ask all staff members to follow your request to Dana, and board members, you can do the same, or you can contact me, and that would go for the elected officials too. You know, whatever you would like to see the website do for your department. All right, any other comments or questions about the website?
Oh, do we have a time frame of when we would like this done?
You know, I don't know that we do. I'm hoping that people will get their wish list done before the next meeting. So
Okay.
as of the next meeting, we'll be able to look at what is it, to the extent we can, say what it is that we want in a website. And I'm going to look out to our chiefs to say, you know, what is it that you would like to see? What, if anything, do you find frustrating about the website that you might like to see differently on a new website? Assuming we do that, you know, I'm not saying that we definitely are going to get a new website. I think that very much depends on what the codes come in at and whether we decide we want to do that or whatever. But I think we're just moving down that path now. Okay, all right, thanks very much for the website discussion. Now on the agenda is discussion and possible vote regarding employee salaries. And 2 or 3 of the board members asked that I place this on the agenda for discussion tonight. So I want to turn to those employees and, you know, ask you what comments or questions would you like to ask? Jim?
Let me go first?
Sure.
It came to my attention a while back that there was a study done in May 2019 by McGrath, Classification and Compensation Study Executive Report for our township, May 2019. And on page 11 of that study, they make the following comment that I personally did not agree with. It said that often employees assume that if the average market rate is $25,000, then they should be making approximately $25,000. But they didn't think that was reasonable. Instead, they imposed what they call an average market rate, which they define as between 40 to 60% of the market rate. And if you're within that standard that they created, the employee is fairly compensated. Thus, if a ratio is within 40 to 60%, then according to this study, the salary is within the acceptable range. However, at page 12, they opined that overall, in comparing incumbent salaries to the average market rate, it appears that Maine Township's past compensation practices have not maintained salaries with average market rates. And also that while they say that 60% of the positions with the township are below the average market rate, below the 40% comparable ratio. To me, it's written in a mathematician's or a statistician's language, but it seems obvious that our employees, according to this study, are below even this standard that they've come to, 40 to 60% ratio. So that means 60% of people who are employed by the township are below the average market rate, and this was done in 2019. So it seems to me it's pretty strong evidence that we have to reevaluate at some point the salaries of our employees, according to this one study.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Kelly, did you want to make some comments?
No, I just was, the reason I wanted to discuss it was because I just wanted to be able to hear what the other trustees thought on the issue. I guess I'm curious to know, since that study came out, have there been additional raises that have hopefully helped to bring that up? But, I know that with, the way things have been going everywhere, I think there's a lot of, I don't know what I'm going to say, like we just need to maybe look at where we are and if we need to increase it, so.
Just in response to the question you asked right now, what has been done in terms of salaries since that study came out. As we all will recall, a year ago, this board gave a 3% increase that was effective as of March 1st, 2021. Prior to that, the year before, I understand the board gave an increase of 1.2%. The year before that, there was no, in my understanding, I wasn't here at the time, but my understanding is there was no across-the-board increase. There were some tweaks to the salary, but no, nothing that I could say was a certain percentage. But I actually turned to you, Kim, because I know you were here at the time.
Yeah.
And if you can remember or would like to add to anything I've just said, please do so.
What you said is an accurate depiction of what
Is
happened.
accurate? Okay.
Yeah, and the last board was very adamant, you know, that they wanted to keep salaries down. We commissioned the report and then they immediately dismissed it. So, because it did come back saying that we weren't paying the employees enough overall. So that wasn't a popular viewpoint. And along with that, they also, the report said that not only were our employees underpaid, but the insurance that we had was not sustainable forever because we were in a grandfathered program. And so they suggested that we start to increase the salaries because eventually the insurance premiums would be higher. And in order to mitigate the cost to employees, we needed to bring their salaries up so that when the insurance eventually changes, it'll cost them more, the employees more, and the amount of care will be less. It would be too much of a hardship to leave the salaries where they were and then increase the insurance with less benefits. So that was a recommendation, but that's not what we did.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from our other elected officials here?
I just have just a quick comment. I mean, obviously this isn't my budget, but I think that staff does a lot of good work, and they put in a lot of hours, and I think they should be compensated a little more than they currently are. So,
Yeah.
and that's just my opinion. But
And there was, can I just add that? And on top of that, when people left for various reasons, we didn't replace them. And so a lot of the employees were doing a number of jobs at the same salary and not being compensated for the extra, the additional work that they were doing. So I think that, I don't know if we're giving our opinions, but, but in my opinion, I think they deserve the increase.
All right, Susan, anything from you?
I agree with Kim, not only that, but, you know, within our office, and I'm sure in other offices too, they've taken on actually more responsibilities and have to get educated in new systems and apply them to their workplace. So not only are they not getting paid for that, they're doing more. And we lose good people. We've had people leave here to go to other towns and other townships because they're paying them. We're not paying our people who are good workers, taking on more responsibility, taking on more education, and we're leaving them in the lurch. I mean, you know, and with this, now with the inflation, with everybody suffering, with all payments going up, you know, and COLA going up, like, Sky, what was it, up to 7.26?
7.5.
7.5?
CPI.
I said, I would think something's got to give, and if you have good qualified workers, you don't want to lose them. You want to compensate them and keep them here. So, and if you bring someone else in, if I lose someone on my staff, I got to train them all over again and get them up to the system. You you know, and with any other department, the same thing. So these people are qualified people. They put in the time, they put in the effort, they're dedicated to Maine Township. Give them what they deserve. That's my opinion. So,
I forgot to mention too, if it's all right, Karen, at page 13 of the study, they also say that this would suggest that individuals' annual increases are inconsistent with tenure. So when they did this study, that's saying that when there are raises given, it's inconsistent with a person's tenure here. So as Susan said, you know, people who've been here longer and done a good job, they don't necessarily get a commensurate increase. When they do, that's consistent with their tenure. That's page 13 of the study. And it's my understanding there's several key people here who are paid, you know, way underpaid, not just slightly underpaid, way underpaid. And mainly the
So is this study talking about a cost of living increase or a merit increase or both or?
nothing, it's just an objective analysis of our salaries compared to this market study that they did. I assume, Kelly, that they compared our workers to other people, not necessarily in other townships, but in other professions that are the same or similar to
Yeah, they
employees that
compared,
work.
if I remember, they
That's right.
compared it to the City of Park Ridge employees. They
Okay.
tried to find positions that were similar, and the tasks were similar, and the amount of hours in the general, you know, geographical area.
Okay, right.
Some of them they weren't able to do that, but I think that's generally what they tried to do in the study.
Right. And they also said in the study, Kim, that there was no salary schedule in many of these townships, no salary schedule, so it was difficult for them to compare. They had to do this special study to get a grasp on the salaries. That's it.
All right, so I think I can hear consensus from the board that salary increase is certainly warranted. And I think I'd like to talk about COLA. There's a cost of living increase, which would be across the board. And that I'd say that be across the board for all of our employees who have been here for at least a year, because those who have been hired during or promoted during the past year, presumably they're promoted at to a salary that's market rate. Also, our personnel manual says in section 4.6 that no one should be eligible for a wage increase until they've been here at least 12 months. So I'd like to entertain some suggestions or perhaps a motion as to what type of COLA increase you would like to see our employees who've been here for over a year receive, especially in light of the cost of living that we've been hearing about lately.
You said it was
7.5 is for the 12 months ending January 2022, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Make a motion?
Did you ask us what we were suggesting?
Sorry, yeah.
COLA,
That's on the
or
motion.
you want a motion?
Well, if you're prepared to make a motion, make a motion. If you want to say something else, you can do that.
Okay, I didn't know if we were going to discuss the amount.
Okay,
or before we make the motion.
We
or-
can discuss the amount if you'd like.
No, I'm
That's
just
what I was
asking you. I'm
suggesting,
asking you.
exactly. Talk about it a little more before
All
we make a
right,
motion.
let me ask
See if we get a consensus on it.
if anyone would like to make any comments about that.
About the percentage.
Oh, I think we should, this is,
You know, I just want to thank you because I have one request, and this should be on the board meeting, because we don't want to practice through the email. So I learn a lot from everybody what they say. And I really appreciate the Maine Township employees. They are working hard and they deserve it. So if you ask me my suggestion, I can say 5%.
Okay.
Should be increased their salary 5%.
Thank you, Asa,
You're welcome.
for your suggestion.
I think we should be fiscally responsible and do something that's reasonable within our constraints, but I think at least 5% and maybe consider a little bit more if that's something that would be, because a 5% increase is a pretty good increase, I would say, for especially in light of the past increases, but I would maybe consider a little bit more if it's something that a consensus would.
All right.
I don't want to.
Would you accept a 5% COLA with allowing supervisory staff to give a modest merit increase where warranted? Is that a yes?
Oh, yes, absolutely. From my understanding, there's certain targeted employees who were very badly underpaid. There were some, I'm not going to name names, but that's what I'm understanding. So we want to leave room for that possibility.
So these would just be for
To
salary?
reward certain people.
No, it would be for salary and hourly too. Salary and hourly both, yeah. Who've been here over a year and, or have been in their positions for at least a year.
Do we have any sort of calculations of what that increase would be in total, like the amount that we're talking about?
Yeah, I did ask our administrator to run some numbers so that I knew how much that would cost, and we did run some various numbers, but let's see. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you picked a 5% COLA, it would be roughly 60,000?
65.
Okay, all right. Does that answer your question? Close-
Yeah,
close.
I just was curious what
All
the
right, okay.
total amount we're talking
Does anyone want to make a motion? Or, you can. I mean, I'd like to see us make a decision about this one way or the other. Because normally, increases would, I think, go back to the beginning of the fiscal year, which was March 1st.
Okay. Make a motion to increase employee salaries by 5% COLA
Would that be for employees who've been here for over a year?
for employees over a year, yes.
And in their positions for at least a year?
Okay, let me rephrase it. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to increase salaries that have been employed in the same position for over a year by 5% COLA.
COLA meaning,
Cost of living.
okay, thank you. And we can't go up a little bit from there, or we would stay 5%, is everybody?
That would be the cost of living increase. It does not prevent supervisory for employees, members of management from awarding a small merit raise to some employees
Can board members make recommendations on that also?
as to
Merit raises?
recommendations. I don't know if you want to make it right now, but
No,
you need to
no,
inform
no,
them. You can certainly
Yeah.
make recommendations.
I would maybe a little bit more than 5%, but other than that.
Can you support the motion? Would you second?
Just the
motion?
survey, just what I've said so far, I have nothing else to support it. We don't necessarily have to move for that today, maybe we can see some more statistics, but, you know.
Do I have support? Do I have a second for the motion? I'm asking.
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Okay. All
For
right.
5%.
Is there any further discussion? All right. Then may I have a roll call?
Supervisor Diamond,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Horvath,
Yes.
Trustee Maher,
Yes.
Trustee Maki.
Yes.
Okay. That passes in terms of the cost of living increase. And unless there's any further comments on salaries, I think we will move on to the next agenda item. Any further comments or anything? Okay. All right. All right, the next thing on our agenda is the video presentation, and I don't think it's too late to show it. It's going to last about 7 minutes, is that right?
That's right.
I think we can wait around another 7 minutes.
Well, it should be engaging enough that you want to watch it, hopefully. Okay. So thank you all for participating. Some of you are in it. All of you are in it. And so this is the final. It's going to be ready to go. The only change we're going to make is we'll use the new social media logo. And at one point, we forgot to put Austin's last name on, so we're going to add that. But please enjoy.
140,000 people call this place home. We're not a town, or a city, or even a county. This is Maine Township. My name is Karen Diamond, and I'm proud to serve as your new Maine Township Supervisor. While many people are not familiar with township government, we're here providing critical services at the lowest possible cost to taxpayers. Let's learn a little bit more about how Maine Township works and how it serves residents like you.
The Board of Trustees, including the Township Supervisor, is the governing body of Maine Township.
It is our job to represent you, the residents.
Township board meetings are typically held on the fourth Tuesday of each month, are open to public and are available online.
We're responsible for our annual budget, enforcing our township ordinances, and making sure that our township government is always responsive to our residents.
With an understanding of the basic government structure, now let's dive into the critical services the township provides.
We like to think of the clerk's office as a one-stop shop for your government needs. You can register to vote, obtain your hunting and fishing license, turn in your passport application, and receive free notary services. We also process applications for people over 65 to get free rides on PACE and CTA. While we recommend calling ahead to make an appointment, our full-time staff is always here to serve you.
With 21.8 miles of roadway, approximately 100 streets, and other infrastructure needs like sewers and sidewalks, Maine Township's unincorporated area is one of the largest unincorporated areas in the entire state. We here at the Highway Department maintain the residential streets and public right-of-way. This includes repair and construction of streets, storm sewers, sidewalks, curbs, and street signs. We are also responsible for snow removal, street sweeping, and street lighting. We work closely with residents, homeowners associations, the Township Code Enforcement Officer, Cook County Sheriff's Police, and the Neighborhood Watch Program to eliminate graffiti, garbage, and abandoned cars from our streets and sidewalks. We actively pursue grants from the state and federal government to keep costs low for the local taxpayers.
The Maine Township Assessor's Office is the first step to getting help with property tax questions and other various questions. My office is the closest to our residents. It is important to me that you get the highest level of customer service. We offer many different services. My knowledgeable staff and I assist taxpayers in completing property tax exemptions for homeowners, seniors, senior frees, returning veterans, disabled veterans, and disabled persons. These are valuable and offer substantial savings from the property tax bills.
We assist residents in filing appeals to both the Cook County Assessor and the Board of Review. If the appeals are successful, residents can save thousands of dollars.
We assist taxpayers in answering their questions about the property tax bills and the sometimes complicated processes of the overall tax cycle.
We offer seminars that offer our residents important and cost-saving information.
At my office, my staff and I go above and beyond to help our residents with their questions and concerns. I am proud to say that in 2021, my office saved Maine Township residents over $1 million by filling out certificate of error applications to get the money back for exemptions that did not appear on the property tax bills.
The Maine Township Emergency Food Pantry provides food on an emergency basis to people in Maine Township. The food is donated by individuals, businesses, and local organizations. Churches, schools, and scout programs hold food drives to keep the food pantry stocked throughout the year.
The Maine Township General Assistance Program provides a helping hand to people in need of financial support. We help residents fill out applications for state and federally funded programs, including benefits for low-income working families and individuals, seniors, and people living with disabilities. We try to provide help to anyone going through challenging economic circumstances. If you or someone you know is going through a difficult time, please visit our website or give us a call to learn how Maine Township General Assistance can help.
Maine State Youth and Family Services has been serving the mental health needs of our community since 1975. We offer affordable, strength-based counseling, youth and community programs, and restorative justice initiatives to improve the mental well-being of Maine Township residents. We believe a lack of financial resources should never be a barrier to accessing mental health services. Because of this, our counseling services are offered on a very generous sliding fee scale. All the programs that we offer for youth are offered for low or no cost.
The Recovery Connection connects young adults who want to stay clean and sober with community resources, social events, and a strong network of peers to support each other and be positive examples of recovery. We work with health, vocational, governmental, educational, and behavioral experts to connect participants to community resources that can meet their needs. The goal of this community-based program is to support long-term sobriety, healthy lifestyle activities, and to assist young people as they mature into contributing members of our community.
Mainstreamers is a social group for seniors. The mission of the Mainstreamers is to enhance the quality of life for residents 55 years of age and older by providing educational programs and recreational activities that encourage socialization, learning, independence, self-esteem, and dignity. Membership is free and open to all Maine Township residents.
Code enforcement job is to keep Maine Township looking beautiful. We ensure code compliance for nearly all aspects of property maintenance, including garbage, vehicle storage requirements, exterior maintenance, and much more. The goal of the Code Enforcement Office is to improve the quality of life for all residents and to help bring increased property values for homeowners and keep our community looking good.
As the administrator, I am responsible for the day-to-day operations of the township offices, personnel, policies, and programs, as well as managing special township projects and overseeing township communications. I play a crucial role in running efficient administration of all township business, including development and oversight of the operating capital budgets, including keeping the board fully advised on the financial conditions of the township, which includes preparing and submitting a budget for each next fiscal year. I report directly to the township supervisor and board of trustees on a consistent basis. Lastly, it is part of my job to make sure we continue to offer the highest quality of services to our residents and that we continue to meet the needs of our community.
I hope you've learned a bit more about how Maine Township serves our community. To stay up to date on what's new in the township, please follow us online. And if you prefer the old-fashioned way, you can always give us a call at 847-297-2510. Remember, we're here for you.
I love that kitschy background music.
I'm glad you like this.
Well, thank you very much to all the performers and our director. It was great fun to watch that and enjoy it. So thank you all. It really obviously was a big effort, and it's nice to see it, and we look forward to it being launched on websites very soon, right?
Yes, very soon.
Great. Okay, we're
Were
just
some of
about...
our key employees missing that day? Sick or that day?
Well, I don't think we got every single employee.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Everybody's included? I gotta pay attention.
For some people, I'd never seen their faces without a mask before, so
So I have just a few announcements to make, and I know everybody wants to go. It's going to be hard to have to follow that video this third morning, but I do want to talk about a few things. One is you see a little piece of paper at your place that says, "Dear board members," I found this in the suggestion box. You suggested that we create a suggestion box, and it's been out there for a number of months, and so I found this piece of paper in there, and I just copied it for you so you all could see it. Another piece of paper you have is regarding the Sergeant Karen Later Memorial Good Citizen Award. You can't nominate yourself, but you can nominate anyone else that you think would qualify for this Good Citizenship Award. And you want to do that fairly quickly, too, because the deadline for submission is April 1st. Another handout we have right here is one similar to one you got at the last board meeting, and this piece of paper is in Arabic. This is courtesy of Sam from the Assessor's office, who translated the brochure that we saw last week, What Maine Township Can Do For You. And of course, you tell that if you don't speak Arabic. But I just think this is another wonderful handout. There are half a dozen of us who, we all went over to the Family Resource Center next door, District 63, Family Resource Center, the old Stevenson building. We went there. Was it just yesterday? No.
Monday.
Oh, it's Monday. Yeah, it just seems like a while ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Today was Wednesday.
So we went over there for a little too. Alicia was there, and Rich and a couple of his staff members. Nick was there. And we got a little tour of the place and the facility and what they offer there. And we talked about how we could work together with them, providing services to Maine Township residents. And one of the things we might do is provide food bags for kids over the weekend. You know, they get free meals during the day at school, but over the weekend, then they might not really have enough food to carry them through. So that's one thing we talked about. We're going to be working on that plan. And tomorrow, I am going to meet with, and I think Nick's going to join the meeting too. Dana, maybe you will too, I'm not sure. With representatives from Maine East Transitions Program. And they help some of their graduates who have been special ed students sort of transition into the workforce. And what they do is their students, or they're actually former students, will volunteer for us a couple of hours a day, and we anticipate that they'll be able to work in our food pantry. So we're going to be talking about setting that up. Niles Township has such a program going for it, so we're hoping it will work for us too. Let's see, also at your place here, Help for Ukraine. Marie, I want to thank you for putting together this flyer, getting this information together, looked into, what were a couple of the reputable charities or organizations that accepted funds for Ukraine. There is a sign at our front desk there if people want to drop off checks. They're not payable to us. We're not cashing those checks, but we're just collecting checks that are made to these organizations and forwarding them on. It may be that in the future we also are collecting other items, but at this point in time we're being told the best thing that we can send at this point is donations to these organizations to help out in Ukraine. So that also is something for your information. Plastic Drag Month for Earth Month. I'm going to talk in our next meeting a little bit more about what we're doing for Earth Month. But I'll leave that for a little later on. Right now, the only thing I want to mention is several of us are going to a Township Officials of Illinois educational event on March 15th. And if anybody wants to carpool with me, just let me know. Or if you want to, it's not that far, it's out in Naperville. If you want to go on your own, that's fine. I think, well, the only other thing I did want to mention again, if you haven't checked your email, please do so. We've been invited by the Niles Chamber of Commerce to meet with them at the Niles Public Library on April 19th, just to tell them what we do and meet some of those officials. And also in the meantime, don't forget our program on April 4th. The North Suburban Legal Aid Society is going to be telling us what they can do for our residents, and that you can watch them on Zoom at home, or you can come here for it if you wish. So I think those were all the announcements I had for this evening. Did anyone else want to bring up anything to the rest of the board? Anything over here? Ed? Susan? Okay. All right. Given that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Macher?
Yes.
Trustee Holly?
Yes.